Hi, my name is Danny Reidenbach, and today I'll be demoing my Project 3 Build Your Own World for the gold points. So, first I'll just talk about the project itself and what I did, and then I'll explain what I added for the gold points. So in this project, we were tasked to, on a 2D space, create a completely random 2D grid consisting of rooms, hallways, and empty space, and create a player character that could move around the world. And so what I added for the main part to make it more of a game is I introduced enemies that would follow you or kind of track you down using the A-star algorithm. Gold door, which is basically like, oh, you're in this kind of like cavern, and the whole point is just to avoid the enemies, and if you can exit through the gold door, you win the game. And then I also added, for the gold points, is I added not only can you save and load just the gameplay itself, is you can enter your name, so it kind of feels more like one of those arcade games where you enter your name and it saves your score. So you can enter your name, and when you save and load, your name will be displayed in the top right corner. I also introduced key presses that show your enemy's optimum paths to you and your optimum paths to the gold door, so you can kind of check to see what's the shortest strategy for you, to see if maybe that could work, or you could tweak that with the enemies chasing after you to get the best strategy to win the game. I also introduced a health mechanic, so I give you 3 lives, because on the harder difficulties, just because of the sheer amount of enemies, only having 1 life is near impossible on some worlds. So having this health mechanic allows you to have a better shot of winning. And then I also added descriptive tiles when you hover. So not only does it show what the tile is, it gives a brief description. So like first time players who don't quite understand what they're seeing can like scroll around the world and get a feel for it themselves. So here I'll start it up. I'll enter just 1, 2, 3 because it produces a cool looking world that I like, just to show you the basic gameplay. I'll enter my name, and then I'll just play it on easy. And so the algorithm I use to basically build the world is takes advantage of a total probability loss. So that's why you can see that sometimes you get straight paths, but in this cool area here you get like a sort of X looking thing, just because it knows that the probabilities have to converge to 1 in the total distance it's covered. And so as you can see in the top left corner, just an example of the descriptive hovering, you can see I'm over a wall right here, and it says it's a wall and you can't walk through it unless you dig. And digging was another thing I introduced for the gold points. Basically allows you, kind of like, this is like an ant farm, and you can create more hallways and rooms to help get around the enemies. So as you can see, when I can move around, but I can't walk through a wall unless I dig. So if I go ahead and dig, and I cover, and you'll see it turns it straight into a floor. So you can see I dig, create hallways, and like see on easy, it's really simple. So I'll just show all the different features, and then I'll demo it on different worlds and on harder difficulties. So if you press Z, you'll see the enemy's optimum paths to you. So you can see I coded it so it doesn't overlap, so you don't lose track of how many enemies you have. And then on a different key press, you'll see your optimum path to the gold door. So I'll move around just to showcase what I did. And I'll dig. And you notice when I dig, all the enemies move, and that's because the game would essentially be like anyone could win no matter what if you could dig at no cost, because then as soon as the enemy is around you, you just dig around and you would win every single time. So I made it so that like digging, checking their paths, basically everything that isn't movement, basically you don't move, but they still get to move to make up for that advantage. So you'll see as I dig through the Q1, and so now I'll start it back up. A different world. Just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. save my name, and we'll do hard. So as you can see, completely different structure of the world. Like when I entered 1, 2, 3, you could see it was more smaller rooms, less long hallways, and it had that X in the bottom right corner. And in this one, you have a lot larger rooms, longer hallways, so nothing is really similar from world to world. But you still get your 3 lives, you're still getting your player save. So I'll demo the player load with all the enemies. And you can just see with the 15 enemies, I took maybe 5 steps and they're already surrounding me. So that's why the 3 lives here really matter. So I'm gonna quit, run this back up again, load it, and it's right back where we started. So I know here, like, there's no chance of me winning because I could dig, they got me. But when you do get eaten, you do appear in a completely random place, and like sometimes that may put you right in front of the door. You could get really lucky, but that all determines like how many steps you take and everything, because every random choice is just another step of the ladder of that seed. So I'll try to dig through here, try to see if I can win, and looks like, yeah, I can win on this one. But I'll just try to explore a little more. And you can see, oh, got me again. I think the digging mechanic was one of the things that really made my game different, just because the whole main focus of the first part of this project was to create this randomized world, and then now as the user you can go through and kind of reconstruct it and kind of like burrow through different ways to kind of make the game fit for you. And so in this case I won't be able to win this game because I have 1 life left, and I'll just display the medium difficulty, and each difficulty kind of determines how many enemies there are and their respective spacings. So like easy, you're gonna see like around 5 enemies all in kind of one central area, but then when you do hard, that's like 15 enemies all spread out the map, so you're really in for a difficult time. And as you can see, every seed, all the same things, like floor, I mean, it's a space of walking, of course, your walls, your players, your enemies, you got your path. And so I just hope that you enjoyed my project, and I think I really enjoyed doing it just sort of out of the freedom, and I hope all these different mechanics are creative enough for me to get some gold points. So I'll just kind of play this one out, try to dig around, have some fun with it. Oh, see, like I rounded them all up. I just don't feel like winning yet. Kind of just want to rub it in. And one thing I noticed is that once they're all together, it's kind of more difficult to get them spread out again, because it is the A* search algorithm that just takes a look at their total distances. And I guess now I'll talk about like specifically how I did the coding, because I've demoed like the videos, and the main data structure was a 2D array. So I used a 2D array for the general world itself and what you see with the tiles, and so every spot in that 2D array has a different tile object. And then I used a separate 2D array kind of for my own data, in which I set up like my own alphabet So like a 1 is a wall, and a 2 is a floor, and stuff like that. It got a little more intricate as that because I had to introduce corners and different things, so to allow like the enemy movement and such. But at its core, it was a 2D array. And the saving happens by writing and creating text files. I use one for the game state and then one for the name. So when you load up the game, it just parses through that name text file and retrieves the name, and the game state basically parses through, receives the key string, because when you can see when I win, I only have it printing when you lose, but you'll see the string of all your key presses, and when you load up the game, the computer itself will run that string of key presses, and then will resume when that string has been completely executed, and then you get to continue right where you left off. It's like you didn't even quit or anything. And so this was my Project 3 Build Your Own World, and thank you for your time for listening to this.